Good morning. Welcome into Fantasy Football Live here in Week 15. I'm Amanda Borges, and I'm joined here on set by Andy Behrens and Tank Williams.
The champ is here.
Yeah, he is.
We've made it to the playoffs. How are we feeling? Are you both?
Good. I'm glad that you're back from your 1 week suspension.
I'm back.
Mm-hmm.
They let me in. My badge still works, thankfully. I'm not in the playoffs though, so I don't know what it's like. That's why I'm over here. They separated us.
I got a lot of Lamar. I'm feeling pretty good this week. It's a no stress week for me.
Tank, you feeling good?
I need Mr. Dalvin to do what he does in LA. Yeah.
Okay. Well, we'll see. Speaking in LA, we have our favorite friends in our LA studio, Liz Loza and Matt Harmon, holding down our social channels for us. Hey guys, what's going on this morning?
Hey.
Favorite friends, that's a good title. I've obviously been heavily tracking the story. I know we usually get to our who's in, who's out segment a little earlier, but I've been heavily tracking the story of LaShawn McCoy and Sammy Watkins late to arrive to the game today. As of 20 minutes ago, they hadn't even shown up. They are there now, but I mean, hey, it's holiday party season, had a little bit too much.
Holiday party season, I mean, they're enjoying themselves. And it wasn't their equipment, but their whole selves that was late this week.
Yeah, I mean, the Chiefs, like, get the alarm system going or something. Come back to us.
All right, we'll check in with you guys later. Thanks so much. Of course, we cannot forget about our DJ Bebop Rocksteady spinning all of his original tracks throughout the show.
Hey, good morning. I can't believe it's already week 15. I'm just looking forward to the regular playoffs because the fantasy playoffs I am not in.
Oh, that's okay.
Hey, it's hard out there for a pimp, dog.
Me and you both, Bebop.
Keep your chin up.
Me and you both. And finally joining us from frigid Colorado is Brad Evans. Good morning, Brad. How's your fantasy postseason going this year?
Lousy. I'm aiming for last place pretty much everywhere. But you know what, Amanda? It's Christmas cookie season, and I'm already about 6 peanut butter and Hershey Kiss concoctions in to start my day. So let's party.
The best time of year for that reason. Thanks, Brad. Remember, this show is all about you, so if you need help with your roster, you can find us at Yahoo Fantasy on Twitter. Remember, use the hashtag AskFFL. Matt and Liz will be keeping an eye on that all morning long. Dalton Del Don is also answering questions live on Twitter, or, of course, you can call into the show. The number is 877-FFL-GURU. We'll get to as many questions as we can throughout the show. Now, before we break down fantasy's semifinal week, let's see who's in and who's out today. Texans receiver Will Fuller is active for what could be a shootout in Tennessee. He's been dealing with that hamstring injury. In that same game, Titans running back Derrick Henry reportedly will play despite missing the entire week of practice. Running back Josh Jacobs is expected to return for the Raiders after missing last week with a shoulder injury. And finally, Colts wideout T.Y. Hilton is a game-time decision Monday night in New Orleans with a calf injury. So keep that in mind when setting your rosters today. Those are some big injuries.
Yeah, I need a shootout in New Orleans, too. Yeah, I need a T.Y. to help out Jacoby.
We might get it. That New Orleans defensive front, heavily damaged right now.
Yeah.
That's pretty encouraging for Indianapolis.
We're going to talk about that game later on, so hopefully you can let us in on who can help us if T.Y. is out. All right, fantasy owners are always looking for the most dependable option to help them week to week, so it's time to decide which flex options are made of reliability, presented by USAA, who help their members achieve a better tomorrow. Now, these players are made to help you this week, so we'll send it down to Liz, Matt, and former Army Green Beret and NFL long snapper Nate Boyer to help make some flex decisions. Hey, guys.
Hey. Well, I want to talk about Marlon Mack first. I mean, we talked about T.Y. Hilton being a game-time decision, and Andy alluded to the D-line in New Orleans being banged up. That's because Marcus Davenport and Sheldon Rankins will be out for Week 15. I think that makes Marlon Mack interesting. Now, I know you said, but last week he came back, only managed 13 carries, averaged under 3 yards per carry, and 38 yards. That's not great, right? But he found the end zone, and also let's remember that this is before the injury, a 20 touch per game player who also averaged the 19th most fantasy points per week. I think he's going to do just fine against this New Orleans defense that is not at full strength, and I like him under primetime, so I think he's a great flex, and I in fact have him higher than that. He's my RB20 on the week.
Solid. I am going to go with Darius Slayton.
Yes.
Darius Slayton in Eli Manning's last rodeo again. No, I'm just kidding. I thought it was going to be Eli's last game last week. I really did. I thought he'd ride out on that white horse with a big victory. He had a great first half, finding this guy quite a bit, twice in the end zone. And, you know, the last 3 times that the Giants have played a defense that ranks in the bottom 10 of the NFL, he's had 2 touchdowns in each of those games, 3 in a row. And once again, today they're playing Miami. You mentioned, Liz, that you think it's going to be a shootout. I agree with you.
This game has sneaky shootout appeal, especially with Devontae Parker and Albert Wilson both healthy for Ryan Fitzpatrick.
I'm 100% with you, and I think Eli's got his guy right now. He's looking for 86, and he's going to find Slayton again. And I don't know, maybe 2 more touchdowns. Who knows?
Love it. Also, Eli Manning. Everyone wants to talk about how he doesn't push the ball deep. Does it a lot better than Danny Dimes.
It's true. Can't argue with what we saw on Monday night. I'm actually going to stay in that same game. Player I did not think we'd be talking about this late in the season, but Patrick Laird has started to come on, and he's been kind of somebody that has stood out in the Dolphins' backfield because he can actually perform a little bit, especially in the receiving game. And last week he had an 82% snap share, so he's out there on the field, had 19 touches, 4 came in the passing game, and that's key against this Giants defense because they've actually become pretty good at stopping the run. They give up the lowest yards per carry in the NFL since week 10. However, they give up the 9th most receiving yards to running backs so far this year. So I think Patrick Laird can be, look, you're not going to get a great ceiling, you're not going to get a ton of efficient rushes, but I do think you can get a nice receiving floor if you need some safety in your lineup this week.
You're a PPR league.
Yeah, I mean, look, he can catch 5 balls at least. Yeah.
At least.
Thank you,
Very
guys.
reliable picks, fellas.
We'll check in with you guys in just a little bit. That was all brought to you by USAA, proud supporter of the military community. What you're made of, we're made for. Let's turn our attention now to our fantasy freebies for the week. Guys, these are players who are under 25% started in Yahoo leagues, but they could have a big week here in the fantasy semifinals. So Tank, you're up. Who you got?
I'm going with that Mickey Ficky Mike Gesicki going against the New York Giants because I understand he only had 5 targets, 1 reception for 6 yards last week, but I think this is the week he totally redeems himself in the sneaky shootout against the G-Men. He's had a touchdown in 2 of the last 3 games. All the Miami wide receivers are banged up. Devontae Parker just got paid, and so I feel like Ryan Fitzpatrick is just trying to go through that receiving core and get everybody paid, and Gesicki is going to be the next man up. So, Gesicki, do your thing.
Brad?
Believe it or not, I'm going to go down to Tampa, and I'm going to talk about a wide receiver that I did not expect to have any kind of conversation regarding this late in the season. But Justin Watson, the former Pennsylvania Quaker, is somebody worth your time in 12-team and deeper leagues, particularly at a flex spot or wide receiver 3. Look, he instantly stepped in and paid dividends after Mike Evans exited stage left the second quarter last week with a hamstring injury, played on over 55% of Tampa snaps, enticing 8 targets, catching 5 balls for 59 yards and a touchdown. I like the skill set, 6'3", 4'4", 40-yard wheels, and you may need to put them in your lineup that go along with a shot of rum, but you look at the matchup, it's the Lions. The Hello Kitties from Detroit have allowed the highest ADOT, average depth of target at 10.0, and the most total air yards of any secondary in the league. So somebody's going to benefit in this receiving core, and I think Watson is a guy that's got a good shot at 65 and a tub.
I like it. Andy?
Yeah, give me Marcus Johnson of the Colts. He's in action on Monday night. Admittedly, I may have felt a little bit better about this when we didn't think T.Y. Hilton was going to play. Still, you look at his last 5 games, he's played at least 60% of the snaps in each of them. Over his last 2, 13 targets, 160 receiving yards, drew a long PI penalty, he's got a touchdown in there. This is a big play threat. Playing in a shootout of a game. He's got sub 4.4 speed. I love his chances to hit a long one in this one. I think he can finish with 80 yards and a touchdown.
Thank you very much. Let's get a check of our social channels to see what kind of help you guys need this week. Of course, we've got Matt, Liz, and Nate who are standing by. Who are you helping, guys?
First one comes in from Twitter. Rich Johnston asks us a quarterback question. Ryan Tannehill or Dak Prescott, it is important that they get this right, which, I mean, that's a good note to include because we figured it was unimportant if we got this one right for you. Liz, what do you
I wonder if his opponent had Lamar or something, and that's why he feels like he's chasing points.
Yeah,
Probably
I can relate. I'm sitting in
I'm going to go with Ryan Tannehill.
Yeah, hottest quarterback in the NFL.
Yes. That's a silly question. I have a follow-up question to that.
Great. Okay, go.
I have 3 quarterbacks.
Oh, does this question come in from @Nate Boyer?
Yes, @Nate Boyer 37 asks, Ryan Tannehill, Jimmy G, or Jameis Winston? That is a tough one.
I think it comes down to Tannehill and Winston, and I actually had somebody ask me this morning, and I said Tannehill as well. I feel safer. It's a meaningful shootout type of game potentially.
I'm also going to go with the player who has been able to hold more than a tennis ball the entire week.
Yes, like
And
that.
isn't
Generally,
number
that's
one
important.
receiver.
Fair. That's fair. That's fair. Okay.
All right. Any others from at Nate Boyer?
Yeah, I have one other one. I have one more from
Okay, do it.
@NateBoyer37. I got four guys.
Okay.
We got to pick two.
Okay.
So I've got. Let me pull it up so I don't screw it up.
Okay.
So we got to pick between Terry McLaurin,
Yep.
John Brown, Christian Kirk, and Tyler Lockett, and you got to take two.
So I'm not going to play Christian Kirk.
Nah, I don't think I
Why?
want to
Wait,
do that
why?
either.
Why?
Not this matchup.
I like Tyler Lockett this week, though. I mean, I know it's tough to trust, but that Panthers secondary can certainly be flamed, especially in the slot, especially by the big play. I think you chase Lockett this week, and then
The other two are?
I think Terry McLaurin and John Brown.
I'm going to go with probably
McLaurin, I think. Yep,
yeah.
me too. Take that chance against
Yep, the
Terry.
Buffalo-Pittsburgh matchup, I want nothing to do with. I don't want any of the players in that one. And what was you had one more from Kristen, I believe?
Yeah, now
Sorry.
let us get back to the people.
I need to win more than anybody else.
All right, Mr. Selfish. Christina, we have the next question
Or
here.
Christina.
She asked, she needs three here. A lot of receivers to pick from. Amari Cooper, Cooper
Kupp.
Kupp, Allen Robinson, DK Metcalf, and then one flex player here, Miles Sanders. I will say, I think I'm willing to risk Cooper.
I think the question here is like, you're starting Miles Sanders
Yep,
as your
gotta
flex.
do that,
Which
yep.
of these two receivers of the four? I have Cooper Kupp and Amari Cooper very close in my rankings. The issue with Amari Cooper, obviously, is being in Jalen Ramsey's coverage. Cooper Kupp has not been on the field for as many snaps as normal because
29% last week.
right, they're trying to run the ball, so they're using a lot of their receivers as blockers to help Todd Gurley and ultimately Jared Goff. I think I am going to lean towards Cooper Kupp over Amari Cooper, which I know is sacrilege, even if Amari Cooper is at home. Then Allen Robinson, I am not as high on, but I still think he does play in the slot once in a while, so I'm not as worried about him. And DK's, the volume is just too much of an issue there. So what about you, Matt? It's Amari Cooper or Cooper Kupp for you?
I think I like Amari Cooper a little bit better.
But then Allen Robinson.
And then Allen Robinson is the one I'm definitely playing here.
But we agree on Miles Sanders and we agree on Allen
I
Robinson.
like Amari Cooper. I also like DK, and I'm going to play Tyler Lockett this
Ooh.
week. I am, but I think both of them are going to get in the end zone.
I do like Metcalf too. He's had a lot of volume actually coming his way, but that's because Tyler Lockett has not been involved. But still, that big time play against the Panthers secondary can certainly be had. Some goofball, I don't even know his name, scored like a 93-yard touchdown last week. But we will be tuning into our social channels all show, especially the chat room. So make sure you hit that up as we keep going along here.
Thank you very much, guys. Time now for our first quick slant of the day. The NFL's oldest and coldest rivalry is back on the field this week. The Bears are in Green Bay for an NFC North battle where the Packers can clinch a playoff spot with a win and, of course, a Rams loss. Now, temperatures are expected in the teens at Lambeau. So with that being said, what are we looking for in this one, guys?
Oh, I am so ready for this game. It is the only rivalry that really matters. Fired up for it. I think we should probably start with Brad, and we'll just get the inevitable out of the way.
This is going to be a boring.
Brad, would you say that David Montgomery is mandatory this week against a Green Bay defense allowing 4.7 yards per carry?
Mandatory, you're damn right he is. Of course. If he can't get to 85, 90 combined yards and a touchdown, all hope is lost. I mean, he's got to be a point of emphasis. I know, Matt Nagy is rather untrustworthy. We don't know if he's going to, put Tariq Cohen out there and slam him into overloaded boxes time and time again. Maybe get some Cordero Patterson and some stupid Wildcat formations near the goal line. But if he plays this straight, this is a perfect setup for Montgomery. As you mentioned, the Packers, 5th most fantasy points allowed at the running back position, 4.9 yards per carry. And Montgomery has got at least 15 touches in a game in 7 consecutive contests. So, yes, I'm trusting him as a top 20 option with my fantasy playoffs on the line.
Tank the running game on the other side, Aaron Jones facing a Bears defense.
Akeem Hicks is back.
It's pretty frisky. Hicks is back in this one. The Bears, even without him, allowing 3.7 yards per carry. You saw the prop on the board there, 59.5 rushing yards. Is this an Aaron Jones game, or do we want to shy away?
Honestly, I own Aaron Jones in season long, and it seems like after every good game, he has a kind of piss poor game, and this is like in line with the piss poor game. I'm hoping that he balls out, but you have to pick your poison this week. It's like a dart throw. It's either Aaron Jones, Devontae Adams, Montgomery, Allen Robinson. It's not going to be a lot of points in this game. You just have to choose the right horse.
I got to say quickly, I'm also a little bit terrified of Aaron Rodgers, who's been under 200 passing yards in 3 of his last 5 games.
Interesting. All right, it's time for our first commercial break, but when we return, we'll go over or under on Patrick Mahomes. Stay with us. We are back here on the Week 15 edition of Fantasy Football Live. Let's get into our first over-under. This is where we take a player and a stat, and our experts decide whether they'll go over or under that total. It's a Week 7 rematch for the Broncos and the Chiefs, and this one has playoff implications for Kansas City. So we'll go over or under on Patrick Mahomes in what's forecasted to be a very snowy affair in KC. He'll face a Denver defense that gives up the 9th fewest fantasy points to QBs, and he's been playing through a bruised hand. So will Mahomes get at least 19.9 fantasy points today? Brad, you're up first.
Under, believe it or not. Look, Mahomes has been under this number in 7 of his last 8 contests. I understand that he was on pace to have a monster game in the first matchup against the Denver Broncos in the Mile High City until he dislocated his knee, disgustingly and gruesomely so. But look, he's got the bad hand right now. We are going to have some conditions there, and I'm going to get into that a little bit later, but there is going to be some accumulating snow, but minor winds. And this Broncos secondary, as you mentioned, they're inside the top 10 of fewest fantasy points allowed at the quarterback position, giving up just 6.9 yards per attempt. And really the culprit for why Mahomes has struggled this season, folks, is the fact that he is underwhelmed in efficiency inside the red zone. QB 14 at red zone completion percentage last year. He's QB 36 in it this season.
Andy?
He is going to go over. It is recklessly negligent to tell people that they have to worry about Patrick Mahomes. Brad mentioned it earlier this season against Denver before the injury. He was 10 for 11, had a touchdown. It was going to be a huge day. You look at his 2 games against Denver last year, it was 25 fantasy points in one and 30 in the other. I see no real reason to worry. When his receiving core is healthy, as it is right now, I've just got nothing to fret about. The conditions there, again, the winds should be fine. There's going to be snow on the ground. I think it's going to be favorable for offense. I'm starting him here.
Liz?
I want to echo all of Andy's points. Do not worry about Patrick Mahomes in Week 15. Andy already talked about the earlier matchup against the Broncos. And we also don't have Von Miller at 100% in this one. Patrick Mahomes is averaging nearly 300 passing yards per game. Do I think he can get 300 yards and 2 touchdowns in this one? I sure do, because he has Tyreek Hill and Mecole Hardman. And let's be honest, the strength of this Chiefs offense is not its backfield right now. Matt talked earlier about how LaShawn McCoy can't even show up for the game on time. So I think when you have two receivers like Hill and Hardman with crazy ceilings, you have to give the advantage to Mahomes. Bad hand, bad knee, bad ankle, don't matter. Over.
Sorry, Brad.
Bring it.
All right, let's get back to social, and we'll send it back down to Matt, Liz, and Nate to check in on our chat. Nate, do you need any more help, or do you think you're good? You going all the way?
Lots of help.
Well, we'll get to you later. Let's focus on the people in the chat room. So hit that chat room right now with your people physically here. We need the people out there to get their help first. And the first one comes in from Jason from Facebook. Eggplant gang emoji needs help. We got all the eggplants in this one. For his flex position,
games are we playing?
Darius Slayton or your boy Austin Eckler.
They're both his boys.
They're both my boys
Yeah.
for different reasons. Slayton.
Yeah.
End of discussion.
It's kind of the ceiling versus floor perspective though here, right, Liz? Which one do you go
So
with?
I would say in a non-PPR format, I would lean towards Slayton. If you have any sort of PPR, half point or full point, I would lean towards Eckler.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like Slayton does seem like the eggplant play of this week, and I think I would chase that ceiling there. It's a little bit more risky, but I think if your lineup, Jason, can take it, I think you go with Slayton in this one. Next question we have here. The chat room is buzzing. This is a lot going on here. Richard from Facebook with just straight up football emojis wants to know Carson Wentz or Gardner Minshew today.
Ugh.
It's brutal, right?
Oh my God, Carson Wentz. You know what? I'm going to say, let's go Minshew. I am so awesome off of Carson Wentz. No Alshon Jeffrey. Still no Jordan Howard. No Nelson Aguilar. That's good for Dallas Goedert, by the way. I'm staying away from, if Wentz couldn't make things gorgeous outside of overtime against the Giants, I'm not playing him in Week 15. Minshew has something to prove, and the matchup is good. I'm going Minshew, even though he doesn't have DJ Chark.
I agree. I mean, is the mustache still strong at this point?
The mustache looks.
I know
pretty good. It's just getting
Movember's
slammed
over,
into the dirt a lot more.
Yeah,
because he gets sacked all the time.
That's okay. You know, as long as he makes a couple connections that we need. I like the swag. I mean, I'm always emotional picks. There it is. Look at that. He's also got the little soul patch going in that pick. I mean,
who doesn't like a little soul patch?
Yeah, it has nothing to do with football. Gardner Minshew.
I will say I do not. I'm with you, Liz. That I think. Look, there's not going to be an extra possession that Carson Wentz needs because look, Dwayne Haskins is no Eli Manning. He is not going to force the Eagles to overtime here. So I would go with Minshew. Trust me, I tilted Wentz last week. I don't want to do it again. Last one that we have here that we will take. This one from Chris from Facebook. Matt Breida or Raheem Mostert today, and then just straight football emojis, very classic, very, very professional. This one's easy to me. It's got to be Mostert. Like, that's the guy you're trusting here.
I am going to disagree, and the reason is because the Niners are playing the Falcons, and they're going to try to get Tevin Coleman in the end zone because they're going to blow him out.
It's a revenge game.
It's a revenge game, and that's the reason. That's the only reason.
Also be a revenge game in theory for Kyle Shanahan, but it should really be a thank you game.
Yeah, right. No, I don't think this is
sure.
Look, I love the revenge game narratives, but I don't know about Kyle Shanahan getting revenge on the team.
But also, you got to know that the Falcons are going to be 100% cued in on Raheem at this point. Like that's what they're going to be looking at. And
Are we worried about that though?
Nah, I think with the volume, that's the way.
He's got the hot hand, and Tevin Coleman's droppable.
He is droppable.
But he's going to drop one in the end zone.
Exactly. I think today he's going to get more options, and I think it's going to be much more of an even split between him and Breida and Mostert.
No Desmond Trufant, FYI, if you're looking at 49ers receivers in this one too.
Well, we shall see. So keep hitting that chat room all show. We will make sure we're tuned into you and bring the good emojis, of course.
Thank you, guys. Time now for Shootout or Shut Down with Andy, Tank, and Brad. This is where we go over the high and low Vegas point totals for a couple games, and we'll see what that means for fantasy owners. Now, we start with the Houston and Tennessee matchup. The total is listed at 49.5. What do we think?
Yeah, simple question here is, do the good times continue for Ryan Tannehill? He has been ridiculous so far. Multiple touchdowns in every start except for one. 9.8 yards per attempt on the season. That leads the NFL. absolutely crazy year from him. Is he a top 5 fantasy quarterback?
Yep.
Something we didn't think we would be saying at this point.
Heck no. A.J. Brown looks like a star. I think he's a top 20 play this week. What are you doing with Will Fuller in this one?
I'm playing him.
Yeah.
That Titans secondary is beat up. We have, who's my man that's on IR already?
For the
Titans.
Yeah. Keep going.
Well, we have a cornerback on IR. We
We
have Adoree Jackson that's out this week. And so Logan Ryan is in the slot. He's been getting torched all season long. And then the 2 cornerbacks on the outside haven't played a lot. And so whether you have Will Fuller, Hopkins, all those cats going off today.
Yeah, it's been a big play reliant offense, but when they get
Malcolm
Will Fuller
Butler.
back, Malcolm Butler's the guy. Yeah. When they get Fuller back into the mix, especially if he's anything close to 100%, I think he's a must start.
Brad, do you have anything to say about that?
Yeah, look, I'm concurrent with my colleagues on their perspectives in regarding Will Fuller and Ryan Tannehill. Look, Ryan Tannehill's a guy I would play ahead of Patrick Mahomes. It's not craziness. It's not silly sauce. It's not me drinking tequila since 6 a.m.
A little silly.
It is not at all. I mean, he's been QB3 over the last 3 weeks. He's greatly outperformed Mahomes over the last 8 weeks. So, and one other note here, Derrick Henry, though he has not practiced all week, him and Vrabel both said he's starting. It's confirmed he's starting. And Houston's allowed the 2nd most fantasy points at running back position the last 5 weeks, which means Henry is a near lock for 100 yards and probably at least 1, if not 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, Corey Davis could be a dart throw too.
Oh my gosh, Corey Davis has been a nightmare all year. That's like the one element of this game that I don't think I could rely on.
Right?
So we've also got the 9-4 Bills at Pittsburgh, who have somehow managed to be 8-5.
Yeah.
I don't really know how they've managed that, but what do we think?
Amazing coaching job, first of all, by Mike
Absolutely.
Tomlin this year. Just an incredible coaching job. These 2 defenses are good. They're both top 5 in terms of DVOA. They're both top 5 against the pass. Is there anybody here that's a must start? What do you do with John Brown in this one?
I mean, he's not a must start. I mean, I think that you can run the ball against the Bills. And so, I mean, but that's the thing. James Conner and Snell and all those guys are going to share carries. I can't really look at one player in this game and say that he's going to blow up. So I think the best plays are the defenses.
Yeah, Brad, how are you feeling about James Conner in this one? He's coming back from injury. Last time he came back from injury, he got immediately hurt again.
Yeah, I mean, there's some risk attached to him. There's no question about it, but the matchup is delightful on paper. I mean, the vulnerability of the Bills this season has been defending the run. They're giving up 4.6 yards per carry, the running back position. Connor has been relatively inefficient as a runner so far this season. You know, you look at the advanced analytics in terms of missed tackle percentage, yards after contact per attempt, falling off precipitously compared to last year. But look, man, if the volume's going to be there, I think there's a really good shot for him to get 75 combined yards and a touchdown. So as an RB2 in a pinch, I trust him.
All right. Now, there are players who are more than 50% owned in Yahoo leagues, but they could be off their game this week. So we'll send it down to Southern California to Liz, Matt, and Nate for their players to avoid in the fantasy semifinals. Hey, guys.
Hey, well, I'm not going to avoid this player. Matt, you might want to put your fingers in your ears on this one, but I am going to downgrade him a bit. It is amazing, and I will give him this, how well Allen Robinson has produced with Mitch Trubisky under center. This week, however, Allen Robinson is outside of my top 12 wide receivers, the position. He's my wide receiver 16 on the week. And yes, some of it is because he'll receive the Jair Alexander treatment, and Alexander hasn't allowed over 60 yards to an opposing receiver over the past 4 weeks. But also, I think volume is going to be a big issue here. Brad already talked about how this is going to be a David Montgomery game because what can you do against the Packers? You can run against them. I agree with that. Also, we know, and Matt and I discussed this on the Yahoo Fantasy Football podcast, that the Packers know how to get pressure. So that means there's going to be a lot of underneath options and passes from Mitch Trubisky, which I think means it might, fingers crossed, be an Anthony Miller game, especially with Taylor Gabriel out again. So I am just downgrading Allen Robinson and managing my expectations a bit.
You know, I'm going to go with Aaron Rodgers as being off his game this week. And I don't think he's going to throw a lot of interceptions or, you know, maybe necessarily even turn the ball over at all. However, this season, every time he's played a top 10 defense, I don't think he's gotten more than 13 fantasy points in any of those games. He's averaging about 11 or 12. It's going to be 11 degrees. It's Bears, Packers, playoff implications. I just think it's going to be the opposite of a shootout, a very low-scoring game. And I think he's going to manage the game well, and they'll probably win. But I just don't think he's going to have a big fantasy day. And yeah, that's just looking at trends for the whole season, and weather and all that miserable stuff about the North. And you got to play football and it sucks. And you don't want to get hit.
I hear that. I'm in total agreement with you on that one. I'm going to stay away from that Packers-Bears game. I'm going to actually go to the Sunday night game. I don't expect Devin Singletary to have a big outing. We know that the Pittsburgh Steelers' pass defense is really good. Well, their run defense is also pretty good, too. They give up the 5th lowest yards per carry since Week 10. In general, too, Devin Singletary also just doesn't have the exact type of workload you want from a back like this. Like, he does not get any work near the goal line. That is Frank Gore and Josh Allen's territory. He has not had a touch inside the 10-yard line since Week 9, and all of his carries inside the 10-yard line came in that one game, and it was 3. That's it. So you don't have a lot of touchdown potential. You're not going to get efficient rushing. I just don't see this as a game where he's going to give you a big-time week. It's a very low-scoring game overall.
Liz is really looking forward to this game, too.
Oh, this is going to be a
She
fun
loves blue-collar football, Liz. Come on.
She's all
Listen,
about
I
towels.
like the NFC North. That's black and blue football to begin with. I don't know what you guys are talking about.
Fun stuff, guys. Thank you very much. Let's help a few of our viewers out with some roster questions. We have sent Andy and Tank over to the monitor to answer some flex questions from social media. Guys, it's time for Make Your Pick.
Yeah, it is. Let's help Wes.
Obi-Wan.
Obi-Wan. Obi-Wan 19 needs 2 flexes. It's a half PPR. He's got both Niners receivers in a just blow-up matchup against
But we're not going to
Atlanta.
play both.
We cannot play both, not with these options on the board.
You know who we can play, though? Who looks like they just got paid $40 million.
How about it? That is the grin. That is the grin of a guy who just got a lot of guaranteed money. He is recently deconcussed. We like that. He's going to play this week. He gets that Giants secondary that was just shredded by Eagles receivers who showed up off the street basically and had a huge game against them.
And if you're not picking the number 1 man for the Niners there,
clearly this one.
You're going with this dude right here.
Yeah, I agree with that. Sanders over Parker. Next one. Let's kick this to Brad. It's a 5-person question.
Brad.
So let's throw
Hey,
it to
Noise,
Brad.
get your pen out, Doc.
Needs 1 wide receiver and 1 tight end, half PPR. Brad Evans, you get Darius Slayton, Terry McLaurin, Adam Thielen, O.J. Howard, and Darren Waller to pick from.
Oh, goodness gracious. Yeah, will Adam Thielen's hamstring not dissolve in the first half of his game against the LA Chargers? I can't trust him, to be honest with you guys, even though he's going at 100%. Believe it or not, I know there's some breezy conditions at MetLife Stadium between the Dolphins and Giants, but I'm going with Darius Slayton for 1. I think he's got to find the end zone. I mean, this is a historically bad Miami Dolphins defense. He was in rhythm and lockstep with Eli Manning in the first half last week against the Eagles until the Eagles secondary made some adjustments. But I think Slayton's got the best chance of finding the end zone. And really, O.J. Howard, are we still talking about him? I understand that he had a decent game last week, but Darren Waller's the home run. And he's a guy that could definitely eclipse the fence. So for me, it's Waller, it's Slayton, and really it's honestly not that close with the tight ends.
Yeah, true.
I agree. I'm on board with Brad. That almost never happens. Next one, Christian needs 2 running backs in a full PPR league. I think I have no idea what Devontae Freeman has done to earn his way into this question.
You just could have left him out.
And he gets the Niners. Derrick Henry, to me, is an easy one here. He's been basically 140 rushing yards per week. These are good options. He's got Saquon. He's got Fournette.
But if you've been somebody playing against the Dolphins, you deserve to get smacked.
Fully agree. Fully agree. Those are my 2 as well. Our last question is going to be
Ranch dressing boy.
Ranch dressing boy.
Yes. We need to meet this cat in real life.
I hope he meets his ranch dressing girl someday. He needs a quarterback and a running back and a half PPR. Fantastic options at quarterback. I don't think
Can you
really
believe
go
that
wrong.
we're debating Drew Brees or Ryan Tannehill? But this is really a thing, though.
And it is totally valid. Tannehill has been spectacular. I'm still going to go Drew Brees. Monday night, home, blow-up spot for him. Yeah, absolutely. And for me, I don't know what's going on in this backfield right now with Miles
Boston
Sanders.
Scott looked good last week.
Boston Scott was really good, really frisky. I'm going to go Joe Mixon here against a New England defense that you can run on a little bit.
Yeah, you know he's going to get volume, too.
There it is.
Good stuff, guys. Thank you very much. We head to LA in just a minute for our next quick slant. Now, I mentioned this before as it pertains to the Packers' playoff hopes. The Rams face Dallas today after coming off a big win over Seattle. Now, on the Cowboys side of the ball, we know what kind of playmakers they have. They just can't really seem to figure out how to put that puzzle together. So, Liz and Matt, who should we be watching in this one?
Yeah, now on the flip side, the Rams have started to put that puzzle back together. I think it's taken a little bit of time, maybe too much time for Sean McVay to kind of figure something out here, but they really found an identity, especially last week. But that did come, we talked about earlier, at the expense of Cooper Kupp, who played under 30% of the snaps.
And Brandon Cooks.
Yeah, well, Cooks hasn't done anything in a million years.
Because Josh Reynolds is on the field taking more snaps because he's a better blocker than Brandon Cooks. And I don't think, Matt, that they have refound their identity. I think that their identity, Todd Gurley, is just healthy again.
Yeah.
And so now they are adjusting to make him the focal point once again. So this is a bit of a return, if you will, to what worked in the beginning for them. And Todd Gurley has been a monster. I think he's a great DFS play this week. And Dallas, don't forget, they're not only going to be without Van Der Esch, who they're clearly missing, but Sean Lee, surprise, surprise, is not 100% in this one either.
Yeah, right, shock. Since week 10, they give up 22 broken tackles, which is by far the most in the league, the Dallas Cowboys defense. And I think that actually you could get away with starting Cooper Kupp, even if the snap rate is low, because their middle of the field coverage is very weak, a 101 passer rating in the short area field over the middle. And I also think, too, that's great news for Tyler Higbee, who is on the field. We talked about this run-based formation. Him and Munt were on the field for over 71% of the snaps. Higbee, 97%. I think Cooper Kupp and Tyler Higbee could be big players over the middle.
And you're not sitting Robert Woods right now because he's been a monster over the past 3 weeks. He is on quite a run, and he's on that low-end wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2 bubble area.
And just quickly on the Cowboys side before we get out of here, I really like Michael Gallup because we know
what my notes say. Troy Hill.
Yeah, we know that the Rams actually give up 97 yards per game to wide receivers lined up out wide here in the second half of the season. Of course, there's not a lot of that's coming against Jalen Ramsey, so that means Michael Gallup, number 2 receiver.
Also coming off of a 100+ yard game at Soldier Field last week.
One consistent player.
Thank you, guys. Another break for us here on FFL. Now, when we get back, we will get to your calls. Stay with us. Welcome back to FFL. We're going to check in on our phone lines now and get to more of your roster questions. Remember, the number to call is 877-FFL-GURU. First up, we have Brandon in Nashville. Good morning, Brandon.
Oh, DeVille.
Good morning. How y'all doing?
What's that?
Great.
Tighten up.
I kind of had a two-part question. I was wondering, at the standard league, should I go with Devontae Adams, Aaron Jones, or Raheem Mostert?
Yeah.
And the other part of the question is either Tyler Higbee or Hunter Henry.
Oh, man, that's close to tight end. I like both of the tight end options here. I'm going to go slight lean to Hunter Henry.
Right, yeah.
I'm going to play Mostert as well over either of the Packers. It seems crazy to bench, really either Aaron Jones or Devontae Adams. Those are upper tier players, but Bears defense been really good, both against the run and pass.
And they're getting Hicks back. Mostert has been balling. Shanahan said that he's earned the right to get more volume. At the same time, I know you can't trust those Shanahanigans, but in a game where they should smack the Falcons, I'll go Mostert.
Yeah.
All right. Up next, we've got Jesse in Minnesota. Good morning, Jesse. How can we help?
Yeah, good morning, guys. So I played against Lamar Jackson and Mark Ingram, and I'm down 69 points.
Oof.
Sorry for your loss.
Yeah, thanks, man. So here's what I got. Full PPR. So I need 2. Adam Thielen, which I'm not sure about that hamstring injury. Zach Pascal. I have no idea what's going on Monday night, if Hilton's going to play or not, or James White. So I need 2. And do I start Phillip Rivers over Aaron Rodgers for the same team? Thanks, guys.
Noise.
Brad, we're gonna go to you on this one.
I'm sitting down Zach Pascal because there's just so much uncertainty there with T.Y. Hilton. Marcus Johnson's going to be involved in the mix. And, Marshawn Lattimore is back and healthy for the New Orleans Saints. So that is a downgrade for the vertical options of the Colts to begin with. I wouldn't go Rivers either. Look, I don't like the matchup with Aaron Rodgers, and Barron's made some salient points earlier on, the fact that he's been under 200 yards in 3 straight games. But this is the Bears, who he has owned in his career. He can put them out of their misery with a playoff, run, with a huge win today at home. So I'm still starting Rodgers, but I'm sitting Pascal down and go with the other 2 wideouts he listed.
I mean, it's time for that guy to look ahead to the 3rd place matchup next week, I gotta say.
Yeah, it's going to be tough.
But stay tuned in because I'm talking about Rivers later. I don't know about that Rodgers noise.
Stay strong. You never know. All right, up next we have Ahmad in Toronto. Good morning. How can we help?
Hi, thanks again for taking my call, everyone.
Yeah.
I am hurting in the wide receiver category, and I need 2 out of Golden Tate, Christian Kirk, A.J. Brown, and Mike Williams. A half-point PPR.
I think this is easy for me.
Easy.
Yeah.
Well, the first one is super simple. For me, that's A.J. Brown.
Yeah, A.J. Brown, Mike Williams.
Yeah, I like Mike Williams in this one.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the reason why I was kind of talking about noise going with Rodgers over Rivers, because, I mean, that Vikings secondary has been getting toasted on the regular like the past few weeks, and Mike Williams is their deep threat, and they've been getting binkied a lot, so I think he's going to have a big game today.
Yeah, Minnesota's corners are about as bad as it gets.
Yeah, and they're banged up, too. They're already bad, and they're banged up.
Yep.
All right, thank you guys for calling in. We will get to more calls as the show goes on. But now it is time for Liz Loza to highlight some players who could really help you out this week. This is the segment we like to call Fantasy Damage. Hello, Liz.
Oh, well, your squad has to be pretty damaged if you're going to start this first guy. It's Chris Thompson, who, yes, the other running back in Washington. Darius Geis out for the rest of the season with an MCL injury. That should mean a lot of Adrian Peterson, right? Well, not really, because the Philadelphia Eagles are quite stout versus the run. And you are looking at Chris Thompson, who converted 7 of 8 targets last week and figures to get a ton of work in the passing game with Paul Richardson out and Trey Quinn, the slot man, also out. So if you are in if you need a flex in a PPR-friendly format, think about Chris Thompson. Another PPR play is Danny Amendola. I told you we're getting really deep, of the Detroit Lions. Listen, he has drawn 8 targets in back-to-back weeks, and this Lions receiving core is ridiculously thin. We know there's no Marvin Jones, which obviously makes Kenny Golladay a great play in DFS, but also there's no TJ Hawkinson here, and Blech needs a short yardage target to work as a safety valve, plus the matchup is quite good. The Bucks, I believe, are allowing the most fantasy points to opposing wide receivers. So I like Amendola and his volume in week 15. Finally, let's talk about a tight end. Everyone is discussing A.J. Brown of the Titans, and for good reason, but how about Jonnu Smith, who managed to find the end zone last week for the second time all season and was the 11th most productive player at the position. Also, because Adam Humphries, the slot receiver, was out, he ran more routes and drew more looks. Humphries is out again this week, and the matchup against the Texans is money, as the Texans are allowing the second most fantasy football points and have given up 3 touchdowns to the position over the last 4 weeks. I have Jonnu Smith projected for 4 grabs, 51 yards, and a touchdown.
Awesome. Thank you, Liz. Quick slant time again. Now, we briefly touched on this game at the top of our show, but let's dig a little deeper into the Chiefs hosting the Broncos. Denver receiver Courtland Sutton said earlier this week that they plan to take care of business to end their 8-game losing streak, but they will be battling the elements. It's forecasted to be in the 20s, and it's also supposed to be snowing.
Oh.
So Brad is our weather expert.
Snowy Wavos.
Stop here, Brad.
Yeah, let's talk about it. We got some accumulating snows expected during the game between the Broncos and Chiefs, a pair of franchises that are used to playing these types of conditions. There's a winter storm warning currently in effect for the Kansas City metropolitan area, and you got the radar there in front of you. You can see some of the snow banding that is currently, over the top of that part of the country. And look, there could be snows as heavy at times. It could produce bands with 1 inch per hour. But the biggest factor here is that the snow is going to be like snow falling in a snow globe, right? It's going to be light in terms of it falling softly to the ground. It's not going to be wind-driven and creating whiteout conditions, none of that stuff. So, Tank, I'm going to toss this back to you because you have played in conditions like this during your heyday in the NFL. Well, you played in some tough footing positions.
Yeah,
You've
true.
explained that to us. And you've always said that being a defender, you're constantly trying to guess, even in perfect conditions, what the offensive player is going to do. So would you venture to say that they're being placed, the defenders in this game, in a disadvantageous position?
I would just piggyback on what you posted on Twitter earlier today when you had the LaShawn McCoy picture when the Eagles went up and they played in Buffalo and he went off. So it's definitely going to help the run game. Phillip Lindsay, the Kansas City Chiefs are already terrible against the run, and that's not going to change. So expect Denver to run him heavily. But as Noise was alluding to, when you're playing on defense and you have slippery conditions, offense knows where they want to go. Defense, we're trying to read and react. So if you're trying to plant and drive in snowy, wet conditions, you're probably going to slip, fall, something like that, and that allows for big plays. So look out for those big explosive offenses like Kansas City, where you may think, maybe I sleep on Tyreek Hill. This may actually be a really good setup for him.
A couple other notes on the run game today. Damian Williams, inactive. He's got that rib issue, also had an illness late in the week.
So we actually do have LaShawn McCoy back in snow.
Yeah, LaShawn McCoy in a snow game. Very strong start. And, of course, Phillip Lindsay against a KC defense that gives up over 5 yards per carry.
Would you rather play in rain or snow? Which is worse?
I've never played in snow, but I would probably pick snow over rain because I hate just being cold and wet.
And wet. Yeah, I think the wet factor makes it worse. Okay, it is time again to get social. And for that, we head over to Liz and Matt. Hello again, guys.
So we're going to jump into our chat room. So if you have questions, hit them up right now. First one I want to hit is from John from Facebook. Sends in some eggplants, some footballs, some oranges. What a nice balance. Also some laughs, and hey, who wouldn't? Raheem Mostert or Melvin Gordon? Who do we like better this week?
I think I like Melvin Gordon in this one.
Yeah?
I do. I like the end zone potential. We still have a much more muddy backfield in San Francisco, so I'm going to lean towards Gordon.
I think I'm going to chase the matchup and go with Raheem Mostert here. I mean, he's been getting a ton of looks. You know, they're still splitting the backfield up in LA a little bit. I really like the Falcons to be able to control this game. Although I will say, Nate is a little bit in my head about this Tevin Coleman revenge game narrative. It shouldn't be in my head, but here we are. Let's jump back in. Freddie from Facebook needs 3 wide receivers between Emmanuel Sanders, Tyler Lockett, DJ Moore, and Stephon Diggs.
Ooh.
I think the 2 immediate ones to me are DJ Moore and Emmanuel Sanders. Really like Sanders coming off a huge weekend against the Falcons defense, which is missing Trufant, as you so aptly pointed out.
So
Lockett and Diggs kind of between the last 2, at least for me.
So I'm going to lean towards Lockett because if Adam Thielen is back, then we know that the volume for Diggs may not be there. But as Matt and I have discussed a lot, that this offense is not necessarily potent enough to support all of its pieces.
Yeah, and the Chargers have been great at shutting down outside wide receiver production.
Casey Hayward's pretty good.
Casey Hayward is very good, and because I feel really safe with Moore and Sanders, I'm willing to take the risk with Lockett there. I think that is the way you go. And final question we will take, this is another need to pick 3 wide receivers. Chris Godwin, DeAndre Hopkins, DJ Moore, and Julian Edelman in a full PPR from YouTube. This is a bundle of riches here. I mean, obviously, you got to go with Mike Williams. You got to go with Chris Godwin. So it's between Julian
I think you've got to go
Edelman,
with Chris Godwin, Mike Williams, Julian Edelman, and who is the 4th?
DeAndre Hopkins.
Oh, I think you're going to go nuke. I might actually sit Mike Williams.
Yeah. I mean, I think for sure. I think that's the way you go there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like I said, a bundle of riches. But I cannot pull Edelman out of a full PPR against the Bengals defense. Is the only game in town. So keep hitting the chat room up. We will make sure to be monitoring it all show long.
Thank you very much, guys. All right, let's get some betting advice from our very own gambling guru, Brad Evans. Brad, are we cranking up or fading the noise this week?
Oh, more than likely, hashtag fade the noise, because if you do that, that's usually a winning formula, whether it's with fantasy selections or gambling picks, whatever in life. Just do the opposite of what I say, and chances are you're going to bear many fruits. But let's go ahead and digress and break down some of my favorite matchups this week from a betting perspective. Let's start off with Cleveland and Arizona. The Cardinals catching 2.5 in this one, and the Cardinals have lost 6 consecutive games straight up. But Cleveland has really struggled away from the creature comforts there along Lake Erie, making that cross-continental trip down to the desert in Glendale. The Browns 1-4 ATS in their last 5 road contests. I like Arizona here, guys. I think the Cardinals are going to cover. I think they're going to win straight up. Only 36% of the public spread tickets right now on the Desert Birds. Moving on to the primetime game between the Buffalo Bills and the Pittsburgh Steelers. Last time we saw the Bills under the primetime lights on Sunday Night Football was way back in 2007. I had like a 6-pack of abs in 2007. Now I'm just frumpy and disgusting looking. But what is nasty about this game is the total. It's at 36.5. This is going to be a war of attrition. I'm taking the under here. 45% of public spread tickets right now on the under in this contest. Buffalo has been a covering machine so far this season, 10-4-1 ATS in its last 15 contests, but has hit the under in 5 of its last 6 games. Pittsburgh has gone under in 5 consecutive as well. And in this matchup, over the years, the under has hit 8 out of the last 12 meetings. So again, this game's got like 9-6 written all over it. Give me the under there. Let's go to Indianapolis and New Orleans. Sazerac's around, bartender. And I think it's going to be a party if you bet on the Indianapolis Colts and taking the 9.5. Only 34% of the public spread tickets right now back in the ponies from Indiana. New Orleans 8-3 ATS in its last 11 contests. Indianapolis just 2-7 ATS in its last 9 matchups against the Saints. But it's a lot of points. I think the Colts, with a faint playoff pulse, are going to play with some pride in this one and keep it close with all the myriad injuries on that defensive line. I think Marlon Mack is going to play a pivotal factor in this game. Give me the Colts plus the 9.5. And then let's go ahead and work in a player prop here. Alvin Kamara has been a player that has sunken a lot of ships in fantasy land here down the stretch. This week, 62.5 rush yards is the prop, and I am hammering the under. Look, he has been over this number only once in his last 5 games. We've talked about his lack of production and how it's really fallen off, particularly in the advanced metrics categories like yards after contact per attempt and missed tackle percentage. Probably some residual impacts from that high ankle sprain he suffered in the earlier part of this season. And we got to get credit where credit is due, people. The Colts are legit in terms of run defense. They've allowed the 5th fewest fantasy points, 4.1 yards per carry, 82.5 rush yards per game. Only 3 rushers have gone over the 62.5 number since week 9 against Indy. So take the under on Kamara and go out there and make that money. Team Webos.
You're predicting 2 big losses in a row for the Saints? That's huge.
No, I'm taking the points. I'm not saying the Colts are going to win straight up. I'm not that drunk, Borges.
You never know. You never know. You mentioned rum and cookies.
There's something in those peanut blossoms that Brad has eaten.
All right, another commercial break for us. But when we come back, we're going over or under on a Niners running back. Stay with us. Is he that Fantasy Football Live. It's time for another over-under. Now, this time we're talking 49ers running back Raheem Mostert. This guy has recently become the team's top ball carrier. But can he keep it up again this week against the Falcons? The line is at 82.5 total yards today. So will he go over or under that number? Tank, you're up first.
I'm saying over, but damn you, Nate Boyer, because he's averaged over 6 yards per carry. Shanahan said that Mostert is basically giving him no choice. He deserves the volume. But if you play fantasy football long enough, you're aware of the Shanahanigans. Now, I don't think it's going to happen this week against the Falcons because the 49ers should smash. But if you do see some Shanahanigans this week, it ain't my fault, dog. He should ball, but hey, don't blame me. Blame Shanahan.
Brad, what say you?
Look, there's plenty of meat on the bone for Mostert and Tevin Coleman to get his stupid touchdown in this game. The Niners are favored by 10.5. They're going to absolutely smash the Atlanta Falcons, making that cross-country trip. Falcons are just dreadful across the board. Now, respectively, they played decent in terms of run defense. A team that's given up 4.0 yards per carry, 128.1 total yards per game, and 10 combined touchdowns at running back position. But Mostert right now, number 3 among all eligible rushers, those that have at least logged 100 attempts in yards after contact per attempt. He is flourishing. I actually believe what Kyle Shanahan is selling here. I think Shanahan's going to set him up brilliantly in this game for Mostert to go off and what should be a positive game script. Way over 90 combined yards and a touchdown. He's easily a top 15 play in Week 15.
Matt, do we need the broom?
Yeah, we need the broom for the lead back on my 49ers because Mostert has grabbed the job. He is the guy right now. And I expect this game to actually feature a lot of fantasy points on all sides because that 49ers defense is a little banged up right now. Something that's going to keep the Falcons competitive and that's going to keep the lead back. Raheem Mostert on the field. We've got a sweep here.
All right, thank you guys. Now, if you want, you can join the crew and go over on that Mostert prop. Get some boosted odds, and if you deposit $10, you can get 100 in free bets. All you have to do is sign up at betmgm.com/Yahoo and check out the Yahoo Sportsbook specials. You don't want to miss out on that. Matt Harmon always has receivers he likes and some he dislikes. Now, luckily, he likes to share his advice with us. So, Matt, who are you highlighting this week?
Well, I believe I'm obligated per my employment agreement to share my advice with everyone. And my advice this week to a lot of people has been to get Mike Williams in your lineup. He is a receiver I am really fond of here this week. And a lot of it is because, yes, of course, he did mercifully score his first touchdown of the year after being top 10 in air yards pretty much all year and getting a decent amount of end zone looks. He finally converted them in his first touchdown. I think he is going to do it again because we talked about it earlier on the show. Andy hit on it, Tank hit on it. This Minnesota Vikings defense, like, don't look at the game, not the name, because honestly, they have been one of the most burnable secondaries. They give up they rank 24th in sack rate, which, by the way, is a little surprising considering some of the players they have on that front line. That's since Week 8. They also give up one of the highest yards per attempt figures, time in the pocket for Phillip Rivers, and of course, a burnable deep secondary that's perfect for a player of Mike Williams' skill set. Now, this next player, I would personally love to pull him out of my lineups. I haven't been able to do it because the rest of my bench is hot garbage, but I'm not really in love with Odell Beckham this week. I know that, of course, look, there's no player with a bigger name out there. It's a great matchup. The Cardinals have been awful on throws of 15-plus yards this year. They give up the NFL's highest 122 passer rating. They're the 28th pass defense ranked by Football Outsiders. It's a great matchup. But, however, I mean, how can you have any faith that this is going to work out? There's nothing good going on with Beckham right now. He's been under 65 yards in 5 of his last 7 games. He's scored just twice all year. And really, the play in this game is Jarvis Landry, who's been averaging 10 targets a game since Week 8. The Cardinals, we know they get beat up by tight ends, but they also get beat up by slot receivers, giving up an NFL high 159 yards per game to interior receivers. If you can fade Beckham, I think this is a week to do it. Somebody just asked me on Instagram, do I play Michael Gallup or Odell Beckham? And I went with Gallup, so that's kind of where he ranks for me. It's going to be tough to pull him out of your lineup, but if you can pull it off, you'll be feeling a lot better than I feel right now, at least.
Thank you, Matt. If you need help in your DFS lineup, now I, for one, am past the point of being helped out of my hole. So for the rest of you, Tank Williams is here. Tank, your assistance, please.
Yeah, come holler at your boy. Now, I'm not going to spit out all the the stats that Harmon did. So hopefully you just remember everything he said about that Vikings secondary and just look at Phillip Rivers' price, $26. We were ready to write this dude off a few weeks ago, but he has 9 lives and he got 9 kids. So make sure you get this dude in your lineup because he's going to ball today against the Vikings. Now at running back, we're going with Ty Gurley because Aaron Jones, 4 touchdowns. Never forget. That Dallas Cowboys run defense is terrible. This dude, we thought he was dead early in the season, but then this dude has been balling. 47 touches in the past 2 games. Arthritic knee doesn't exist. Gurley is still alive. He's balling out. He's only $21. He has volume. Get him in your lineup. And that wide receiver, this is a guy who doesn't have a lot of volume, but all he does is ball, tighten up. A.J. Brown going against the Houston Texans. Man, that secondary gets honey roasted on the regular. They're coming off a tough loss against the Broncos, so you know it's going to be shootout potential. And for some reason, this dude keeps balling out. We've been talking about Corey Davis and all these other cats, but it always ends up being A.J. Brown, and so I don't see anything changing. And for $15, I mean, he's worth at least a dart throw, and this is more than a dart throw. He's going to ball out today. At tight end, Ian Thomas. Now, I understand he's playing with the Panthers and that other guy that has 2 first names, and he has 2 first names, but he's $12. The Seattle Seahawks give up the 3rd most fantasy points to tight ends. And I'm just hoping that since Thomas is kind of a regular last name, that reverse jinx of the 2 first names kind of evens itself out. And so hopefully he balls out. But a lot of targets this game. They're going to be playing from behind. Get them in your lineup. And last but not least, we're going with the Seattle Seahawks because they're going against a quarterback that has 2 first names, Kyle Allen. You also have Curtis Samuel. You have Ian Thomas. So many 2 first names, and none of them are Ricky Bobby. So for $16, and they're coming off a rough loss against the Rams, and they got to bounce back to stay in the NFC West, they got a ball today, and I'm out.
Sound statistics, Tank.
I mean, you know, we do what we can.
Let's look at the standings. Should we look at the standings?
Is that what Andy wants to do? Well,
Yeah, he does.
per Andy's request, we are going to take a quick
I wish
look.
I could give your lineup 2 for.
Oh my
thumbs down.
Andy, my goodness. Okay, so there was a little bit of a shift in the middle of the pack last week, but as we all can see, Andy is firmly in control.
We are planning the parade route in Chicago. I've been in touch with City
You
Hall.
are
This
planning.
is the biggest title in, I don't know, since 2016 when the Cubs won. This is the biggest thing that has hit Chicago. We're all excited. We're all excited.
Matt, I have taken your place in the basement, or I probably never got out, but I'm going to keep it warm.
I may be there next week. Just
You think so?
Yeah, wait for it.
Oh, you're playing for draft position next year.
Yeah,
I get
exactly.
it.
I'm feeling good. I'm feeling
good?
good about this. I jumped Brad this week. This is gorgeous.
Yeah.
I feel like I should play it safe, but I have like a tourney lineup in, so all hell could break loose after this week.
Goodness gracious. All right, Andy. Well, congratulations. Not yet, but
Oh, no, it's happening.
I'm not helping you plan the parade.
We already said that he needs to come in Converse, the white socks with the stripes on it, jorts, wear the judge outfit with the wig,
Yep.
no shirt. That's how you celebrate.
We
That's how you
We
celebrate.
all agree to that.
Well, stay tuned
There
for
will
next
be
week.
celebratory attire, though.
All right, let's get to another quick plan. We just discussed Raheem Mostert's potential today, so we're going to dig a little deeper into the San Francisco-Atlanta matchup. The Niners are one of the best teams in football, and on paper, this game should be a piece of cake, although the team is dealing with a plethora of injuries. So we'll check in with Liz and Matt. What should we look out for in this one, guys?
I mean, I love that we're coming out of the Guru Challenge and some DFS talk on this one because I think Julio Jones is an incredible value in daily at only $27. Let's not forget that there is no Calvin Ridley, but it's not just the volume that makes Julio so wonderful. Amanda, you mentioned the injuries, particularly to San Francisco. All kinds of banged up. No D Ford, no Richard Sherman, no DJ Jones, no Jaquiski Tart, no Julian Taylor, no K'Wan Williams. Oh my goodness, of course, a hallmark of this 49ers team is to be resilient and overcome after injury, but my goodness, this is a lot of injuries to overcome.
Yeah, right. I mean, Atlanta, at least we know like where the ball is going. Like,
Yes.
I'm not really messing around with like a Russell Gage sleeper play unless you just are in love with 6 catches for 50 yards or something like that. But I
Especially
do like
with Austin Hooper back.
that was going to be my next point. It's like Austin Hooper's back. He's like a lock for 7+ targets whenever he's in there. He's a guy I really like, and I think probably he's going to get a little overlooked in daily fantasy because George Kittle's on the other side of the field.
Yeah.
And that guy is the freaking GOAT right now. I mean, San Francisco also, like, keep it pretty simple here, too. Like, it's Sanders, it's Kittle, it's Raheem Mostert in the backfield.
Debo.
It's Debo as well. Debo, like, He's the one I probably like the least out of that group, just based on projectable volume.
I do think his ability to get some rushes every week and also work outside a little bit with the true font absence might give him more upside than people are expecting.
Yeah, I think just in general, a lot of points are going to be scored in this spot. Jimmy G, where does he rank for you real quick on quarterbacks?
I think he's, I think I'm around QB8, QB10, around that range.
But behind Ryan Tannehill?
Yes.
Okay, just making sure for my own lineups. Thank you so much, Liz. I really, really appreciate that.
You're welcome. Matt Ryan, by the way, only $26 in DFS, so also good value.
Thank you very much, guys. Time for another break here on Fantasy Football Live. Now, when we return, we'll get to some of your roster questions. Hang tight. Welcome back. We know you need some roster help. It is crunch time after all. So let's see what sort of questions Liz and Matt are getting in the chat. Hey, guys.
Yeah, we are checking in on our chat, so make sure you drop in with some emojis. And I like this question because we were just talking about where Jimmy Garoppolo ranked, and we've got, I don't even know what that one emoji is, but there's at least a trophy there. Do you like Russell Wilson or Jimmy Garoppolo more this week?
Oh, that is a good one. I think I do like Russell Wilson. I have him as a top 5 choice, and like I said, Garoppolo's my QB8 on the week.
Yeah.
Carolina's been a disaster, and Tyler Lockett is healthier. DK Metcalf, you hyped up earlier, so I think when I look at the weapons here, I like the ceiling that Wilson has.
I think that makes a lot of sense. I'm going to go with Jimmy G, though. I think the shootout appeal is a little bit better there, but hey, we're no help. But I'll take the second question here. Eric from Facebook as a PPR question. Adrian Peterson or Devin Singletary? Now, I'm going to recuse myself from this question because obviously I said I don't like Devin Singletary, and I have to play Adrian Peterson in a fantasy playoff matchup. But Brad, I'm actually going to get your help here on this one. We need you. Adrian Peterson or Devin Singletary in a PPR? Who do we like better?
I'm actually going with Adrian Peterson, believe it or not. Look, neither one of these matchups is exactly exploitable on paper, but, you know, Adrian Peterson still flexing that old man strength at his advanced age. You know, he's running to get himself out of debt. He's accumulated 3.16 yards after contact per attempt. And you look at the Eagles, you know, the Eagles are stiff. They're stout in the trenches. They're giving up just 3.6 yards per carry at the running back position. But without Darius Guys, and yeah, you got Chris Thompson there, the volume is going to be there. I mean, it's probably a minimum of 20 attempts for Peterson, and I think he'll grind his way to around 80 yards and a potential touchdown. So a little bit higher floor and possibly ceiling compared to Devin Singletary.
You beautiful man. I feel so much better about having to start Adrian Peterson. Do you agree with Brad and my desperate self?
Well, I think the point you made earlier about Devin Singletary not seeing any work near the goal line. In fact, he's seeing fewer carries inside the 10 than not just Frank Gore, but also his quarterback, Josh Allen. And because the touchdown upside is so limited, I am going to lean towards Adrian Peterson as well. Maybe get lucky. I don't see no 80 yards, though. I'll say that much.
Hey, 20 carries, 75. We'll take it. I don't care. Next question, and Brad, I'm going to get your help on this one too, because it's your boy of today and your boy of all season. And we've got like a cow, one of those cow skull emojis here. Michael from Facebook wants to know, in a PPR flex, are you playing David Montgomery or Justin Watson? He just needs a little peace of mind here, Brad.
Come on, Brad.
Look,
do it.
I like Justin Watson. It's an act of desperation for my own devices. I inserted in my lineup because I didn't trust Jamison Crowder. And how'd that work out? Lousy. Terrible move by me. Should have faded myself. But I do like David Montgomery today, speaking as objectively as I possibly can, which is extraordinarily difficult to do, but talking about my main crush, Monty. But the matchup is perfect, and it's placed on a high tee, and it's a beach ball-sized ball for him to crush it into the fairway. You know, you look at Green Bay, 4.9 yards per carry allowed, 5th most fantasy points surrendered to the running back position. And as I mentioned before the broadcast, Monty has gone for at least 15 touches or more in 7 consecutive games. Feed him, Matt Nagy, for the love of the fantasy gods!
I mean, I don't know how I could follow that up any better, but I like Montgomery this week pretty well, especially with Tariq Cohen. Not there.
All right, so let's talk about Erica, because she wants to beat her husband. So, lady, let's get you. And not only does she want to beat her husband, but she threw in eggplants and football emojis. I love it. She needs help. Cousins, Manning, or Goff. So which of these quarterbacks? This is a couple stages. Cousins, Manning, or Goff? Brad?
Oh, Cousins, Manning, or Goff?
I'm going to keep it with Jared Goff here.
Yeah,
Are you in agreement, Brad?
No, I'm going to go Kirk Cousins, actually. You know, Kirk Cousins is the guy that's consistently getting multiple touchdowns in a game. And I know the matchup is probably the least favorable out of the thrice here, because the LA Chargers got Casey Hayward always lurking there in the secondary. But with Adam Thielen back at 100% according to Thielen, you got Stephon Diggs still there. Kyle Rudolph's been more involved in the pass game, particularly in the red zone. Of course, Dalvin Cook is highly explosive in that capacity as well. I just think the floor for Kirk is probably 250 and 2, so that's the side I'm going.
I am going to agree with Matt that I think Goff is the way to go. It is particularly hard when you want to beat your husband, though, and I'm not playing Eli Manning, who I wouldn't mind being my husband at some point. So, you know, I'll just say that. And then secondly, for Erica, who are we going? AP, Mixon, or James White? Obviously, the matchup for Mixon quite tough against New England. However, if there is a weakness in New England's defense, it would be the running game, and you have to imagine that Mixon, who is evading 4 tackles a week, will get a ton of volume here. Are you, Brad, liking him more than Adrian Peterson, who you just hyped, or James White, who is old reliable for Tom Brady?
Well, James White's obviously got the best matchup on the board, but, you know, you have to depend upon, well, really you got to ask the question, who's got the most touchdown appeal here? Honestly, I think it's Joe Mixon. Look, I know the Patriots only get up 2 touchdowns to the running back position this season, but let's be real. They're already down. The Cincinnati Bengals probably, 20-0 in this game as they, trot out of the tunnel. So there's going to be some garbage time appeal here. The volume is clearly going to be there. You can run on New England. So I'm sensing a garbage time all-star heroic performance in the 4th quarter for Joe Mixon. Get you around 90 combined yards, and indeed, it's the pylon.
Is it a sweep, Matt?
I'd rank a Mixon, White, Peterson.
Agreed. All right, back to you in Sunnyvale.
Thank you very much. Go, Erica, go. Let us know if you beat your husband, by the way. We want to know. Let's get to our final over-under for the week. This is a fun one. It's Titans wide receiver A.J. Brown. The Titans host the Texans today, and quarterback Ryan Tannehill has been having plenty of fun with Brown lately. He's averaged over 27 yards per reception since week 11. Now, you heard Tank hype him up earlier for daily in the show, but will he go for 77.5 total receiving yards today? That's the question. Andy, you're up.
Yeah, it's not too often that we talk about a line on a player that I think he can get in a single catch, but I think that's the case with A.J. Brown. He had a 90-yard touchdown last week. He has 5 plays this year of over 40 yards. He's hit this in 3 of 5 games. Yes, I absolutely think he can get there. He is the dominant receiver, tied to Ryan Tannehill, who's playing out of his mind right now. I definitely think he gets it.
Tank?
Remember what I said because I said it. Over.
We remember. Liz?
I am also going over, not just because A.J. Brown is such a good receiver, but he's so dominant after the catch. He is averaging 8 yards after the catch, which is almost twice league average. That's why he has managed to rack up over 130 yards in 2 of his last 3 games. He scored 3 touchdowns in that time, too. This connection is undeniable. And fun fact, the Houston Texans are not only giving up the 6th most passing yards per contest, over 280, but they've also given up the 8th most plays over 40 yards. To Andy's earlier point, this to me is an absolute over.
We win.
Alrighty, thanks guys. There are lots of things we care about around here, and then there are some things that Matt and Liz just don't care about in tonight's Steelers-Bills showdown. So what are those things, guys?
I mean, this game, probably not a great fantasy matchup here. And I'll tell you, I'm really not interested in like picking between Deontay Johnson or James Washington, any of those players, because I love the energy that Duck Hodges has brought to this team. Like,
sure, it's great.
I have not been interested in watching the Steelers or finding them very compelling, I think, in the last like 4 years, but he's kind of changing my mind here, but still not enough to make me interested in any of these pass catchers for fantasy.
Yeah, I mean, if you're the type of person who loves low-scoring games, well, tune on in to Sunday night, because let me tell you, I don't care about either of these teams starting running backs. I don't care about James Conner. I don't expect him to be, even though he is playing again and he's the starter, I don't expect him to have a giant workhorse sort of load here, not with Benny Snell also doing things. And this is not just because I appreciate Snell nugs so much. Also, we already talked about Devin Singletary and his lack of touchdown appeal. Neither of these running backs are doing it for me, and I don't want to answer any more questions about them.
No, yeah, I've been getting a lot of James Conner questions, and like, he theoretically has a safe floor, but we've said it. I like that he's taken some time off because, like, that was clearly needed. He kept coming in and out of the lineup. At the end of the day, though, I agree with you. Like, if you can get out of this game from like, I am excited to watch this game because I think I think T.J. Watt might be the defensive player of the year.
Sure.
Minka Fitzpatrick is like right up there with him.
But that's all the reasons you don't want these people in fantasy.
Don't want him for fantasy. I'm excited to watch this game, but I definitely do not care about playing players.
And James Conner, I know you're going to talk about the matchup, but again, for us, I think we're saying is the volume just isn't guaranteed.
Not reliable at all.
Thank you, guys. It is time for some more roster decisions over at the wall. So Tank and Andy are over there helping you make your pick. Guys, take it away.
Yeah, we got an embarrassment of Bills here in this question from Greg. He needs 1 wide receiver and 1 flex.
$40 million.
Yeah, absolutely. Devontae Parker, again, you got to play him this week. There are very few receivers that I would start ahead of him. I don't want anything to do with Singletary or Brown. You just heard Matt and Liz talk about it. They are out for me. I'm going to go Michael Gallup. Yeah, there it is. Going Michael Gallup in this one against the Rams. He's been seeing double-digit targets more often than not.
Jalen Ramsey probably going to be on Amari Cooper, so Gallup should be galloping in a shootout.
David needs a running back and a wide receiver and a half PPR. This is the headshot. Cole Beasley is just killing me. That has Florida man written all over it. Love it. I have a very difficult time not going Phillip Lindsay. I love both of these options here. Love Mostert this week, but Lindsay again against a Chiefs defense that gives up over 5 yards per carry.
In the snow.
That's my guy in the sno. And then I think you got to go Darius Slayton, right?
Easy money right there.
He's had several blow-up games this season, not just last week. So I think he's an easy play. Taco is man, needs a wide receiver and a flex. Great options here. Diggs, Lockett, Jacobs, Woods. You got to play Jacobs, right?
Yeah, one of the better matchups on the slate.
Great matchup. Final game in Oakland, by the way. He's been playing through that injury and playing great. For me, this is going to be Robert Woods. He's been seeing double-digit targets consistently. I don't think I can trust Tyler Lockett. Diggs has been way up and down.
Yeah, I mean, you can't trust Tyler Lockett, but, I mean, he's set up to have a really good game against Carolina this week. But Woods has been balling out the past few
Over the
weeks.
last
You can't
month,
turn
Tyler
him.
Lockett has only seen like 9 or 10 more targets than I have. That's not doing it for me. DJ needs a quarterback, and he's got some glorious quarterback options. And
When
some
you
glorious
believe
beards.
if it's magic.
I kind of do, but I don't believe in him so much
over these
over
guys?
Dak and Kyler. Dak and Kyler is really close for me. I have them both in my top 12. Slight lean to Dak Prescott in this one. Just love his options.
Actually,
better.
both of these games should be shootouts. I have Kyler going in the season long, so I really need him to ball out. Come on, Kyler. And we actually have Kyler Murray in studio, too, but that's a different story. But we'll go ahead and click on Dak right here. But both of those guys should have really good games this week.
Love it. And we've hit this one. That's a wrap.
All right, one more break for us. Don't go anywhere. We've got Colts Saints talk next. And for those of you that didn't get the Kyler Murray joke,
DJ Kyler
this
Murray,
guy
hey!
looks like Kyler. Welcome back to Fantasy Football Live here on Yahoo Sports. It is time now for our final quick slant of the day. The Colts are traveling down to the Big Easy to take on the Saints. Now, this one is in prime time on Monday night as the Saints look to rebound after that close loss to the 49ers last week. They enter this game averaging nearly 27 points per game, which is good for the 5th most in the NFL. But, of course, the question here is what fantasy storylines should we be looking at? And we'll start on Indy's side of the ball. Should we maybe help people out that have T.Y. Hilton just in case he doesn't play?
Yeah, it sounds like Hilton's going to go. You would expect him to be shadowed by Lattimore, perhaps.
So can you trust T.Y.?
No, would be my short answer. I don't think you can trust T.Y. We know he's been bothered by that calf injury. It is a huge deal for him. I kind of like Marcus Johnson again in this one. He's playing over 60%
Pascal. They're going to be playing from behind, so they don't have to throw.
Like Pascal, like Jack Doyle. Fun thing if you're invested in Colts players is that Rankins and Davenport are out in this one. So whatever you thought about the New Orleans defense, and they're like number 5 on the season against the run, they're going to be a lot friendlier. Obviously, they got gashed by San Francisco last week. This is a pretty good spot for Marlon Mack.
Yeah. I mean, you already talked about that. Well, we talked about that off camera. So, I mean, I think if you're looking at it from a DFS tourney perspective where you feel like a lot of guys may not be on this player, I mean, Marlon Mack may be the way to go. But on the flip side, I think we may need to go down to noise and see what's up on the New Orleans. I mean, obviously we played Michael Thomas, but what do you think about Kamara?
Yeah, as I said before, I'm under on a 62.5 rush yards prop for Kamara. So, I mean, obviously he can make his hay in the pass game. He can take advantage. But, I mean, he's just not the same player that we saw at the beginning of the season. He hasn't scored a touchdown since week 3. I think the scoreless streak extends. As I mentioned before, this Colts run defense is highly underrated. 5th fewest fantasy points allowed to the running back position. So I've got Alvin Kamara outside my top 20 this week. I would play a Montgomery, a Mostert, hell, even a Boston Scott could outperform him. That's how far the mighty have fallen in New Orleans.
Alvin Kamara, Joe Mixon.
Mixon.
Yeah, I don't even think that's a tough one. Hasn't scored a touchdown since September. That's crazy.
That's wild.
Oof. All right, let's get to one more check of our chat before we head out. It is getting close to kickoff. Matt and Liz, what's going on over there?
Well, let's keep this one simple with the Facebook question from Brian, because they kept it simple with just the puke emoji, and it is making a lot of sense because the question is Devonta Freeman or Patrick Laird here in Week 15.
Oh, well, Devonta Freeman's not fully healthy. If he were fully healthy, then this would be a no-brainer to me. Do we know if there's PPR? Or assuming there's PPR? We don't know that there's PPR.
Let's assume a half PPR, the standard.
All right, well, listen. Miami cannot run the ball. This is just not a possibility. They need to pass the ball, but I'm going to go Freeman. Screw it, I'm going Freeman. There's a volume issue. I, first of all, was one of the first people here to hype Laird, but I cannot do it. Not this week, not with Parker and Wilson back.
I'm puking with Laird. I mean, I feel just safer. I feel safer, and maybe that makes me weak, so let's move to a snowflake question. Sam, with the PPR, says, Patrick Laird or Jared Cook in the flex? In this situation, I mean, look, now you're puking.
Are you going to sit Cook, even though he hit the concussion protocol? He's out of it after scoring. If you had Cook on your bench last week, you didn't learn your lesson.
But some of us are survivors, and that is exactly what I did.
So you're starting Cook, right?
I'm going back to Cook in this one. Yeah, that's the way to go for me. And let's take one more here. Brian, a different Brian from Facebook, needs one wide receiver and one flex. A.J. Brown, Christian Kirk, Sterling Shepard, Jared Cook, and Marlon Mack. You like Marlon Mack this week, right?
I do like Marlon Mack this week. Go ahead and answer that one. I'm looking at Matthews. Go ahead.
All right. Well, look, I'm taking Marlon Mack and A.J. Brown here, and this is the producers have said this is the last one we're doing, Liz. So let's not let this person down. Marlon Mack, I like him a lot on Monday night, and A.J. Brown. There's no way I'm benching A.J. Brown this week.
Matthew, I can't read it. It's moving too quickly, but thank you so much. Good luck this week.
So good luck to all of you out there in your matchups, and make sure you check in with us at halftime of the early games and late games at Yahoo Fantasy on Twitter. We will be doing our weekly halftime show, and we will see you there.
And don't forget to use the hashtag AskFFL.
That's right. Thank you very much, guys. Before we say goodbye, we're going to say hello to a couple callers. First up, we have Zach in Vermont, who's been holding the entire show on the phone line. So thank you so much for your patience. What's your question?
My question is should I start Dak Prescott against the Rams this week or start Baker Mayfield against the Cardinals this week?
I've got Dak here. I don't know how you feel about this. I feel like there's going to be a lot of points in that game. I get the argument for Baker Mayfield. The disappointing season from Beckham has me a little bit worried. I think Jarvis Landry is a solid play, but for me, this is going to be Dak.
The Cardinals give up the most points to fantasy quarterbacks, and Baker Mayfield and Freddie Kitchens like to throw it. So I understand that OBJ may be a little bit of a disappointment, but he got other guys to throw it to, Jarvis Landry, so I'm going Bake.
All right, next up we have Harmon, not our Harmon. Harmon in Eugene, Oregon. Good morning. How can we help?
Hey, good morning, y'all. Thank you for the help. So in a half-point PPR league, I need 2 receivers. I need Stephon Diggs, Mohamed Sanu, Conley, or Brashad Perriman.
Diggs.
This is going to be Diggs and Perriman for me. I don't think I can trust. I understand it with Conley. Not going to go that route, though.
Brad, do you have anything to add?
No, I concur. And by the way, to break the tie on the quarterback conundrum, I'm going Dak.
Okay.
That means you should go Bake.
We have Nate Boyer calling in.
Is that Nate? All right, last caller for us. We have Scott in Florida. Good morning. How can we help?
Hey, thanks, everyone. Big problems with running back. PPR, I have Kenyon Drake, Boston Scott, or DeAndre Washington.
Huh.
And we can only play one. First of all, buck up a little bit. It's the playoffs. Don't sound so depressed. These are
you made it.
These are okay options. Brad, who are you going with?
I'm going Boston Scott. It's really close between him and Kenny Drake because I think Drake's got a great rebound opportunity. 4.7 yards per carry is what Cleveland's allowed. But, man, I am just infatuated with the little spark plug out of La Tech.
Yeah.
That's got to be splitting work with Miles Sanders.
Yeah, I agree with this. Scott looked great. I don't know exactly what that workload split is going to be, but it's hard to imagine that Boston Scott doesn't see at least 50% of the snaps.
I mean, yeah, it's scary that DJ is actually a thing now in Arizona again after it seemed like they tried to write him off. But let's go, Scott, I guess.
All right, thank you everyone for calling in and being patient if you were holding. We really appreciate it. That will do it for the show for all of us here in Sunnyvale, in LA, and of course Brad in Denver. Thank you so much for watching. Best of luck to your fantasy team this week. We will see you next week for our final show of the season. How crazy is that? 11:30 Eastern, 8:30 Pacific, right here on Yahoo Sports.
Y'all come back now, you hear?
Don't forget.